The reason I moved into this old apartment outside Munich was simple. It was quiet, affordable, and perfect for a freelance illustrator like me who lived paycheck to paycheck on commission work. Initially, everything was exactly as I'd hoped, peaceful, comfortable. The apartment, located just one floor below the attic, was small but well furnished, tidy, and even had a window with a view of the distant, hazy outline of the Alps. I thought I'd chosen the perfect place. Until the third night. It was unusually cold that evening. I was hunched over my desk, absorbed in the intricate details of an illustration. Outside, dense clouds drifted occasionally through the deep darkness, blocking out what little moonlight remained. The air felt heavy and oppressive, tinged with an inexplicable unease. Then suddenly, a faint yet unmistakably clear sound drifted down from the ceiling above, as if someone were slowly pacing from one end of the room to the other. My pen froze mid-stroke, ink spreading across the paper like a drop of black blood. I raised my head and stared up at the aging ceiling, painted pale white but cracked and worn in places, revealing faint, elongated shadows. I sat completely still, straining to listen. The footsteps sounded again, clear, steady, mechanical. The only problem was, the attic above was supposed to be empty. I distinctly recalled the landlord mentioning that the attic floor had been abandoned for years due to outdated facilities and safety concerns. The only staircase leading up there had been sealed shut long ago, covered by thick wooden boards secured tightly with nails. There was simply no way anyone could get up there. I remained frozen for at least 10 minutes, ears pressed against the suffocating silence. The footsteps didn't stop, they just kept pacing back and forth, tirelessly. I tried rationalizing it, maybe a rat or a stray cat, but deep down, I knew better. No animal could produce such regular, deliberate footsteps. A chilling sensation seemed to descend upon the room, running cold fingers down my spine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay wide awake, staring into the darkness above me until the footsteps finally ceased just before dawn. The next day, I confronted my landlord about the strange noise. He avoided my gaze hesitantly, mumbling something vague about the attic floor being permanently vacant. Yet his expression was stiff, troubled, as though there was some dark secret he was unwilling or unable to share. From that day onward, the footsteps returned almost every night like some bizarre ritual. Eventually, I realized it always started precisely at midnight, pacing relentlessly above my head, as if waiting patiently for something unknown. Without realizing it, I began to feel as though I'd become the subject of observation by something invisible, something silently watching from above. Life gradually became unbearable. I started forcing myself to sleep early, but every time the room fell silent and dark, the footsteps above my ceiling would return, precise as clockwork, waking me from shallow sleep. I tried earplugs, music, even burying my head beneath the covers, but nothing worked. Those footsteps penetrated deep into my bones, rattling my nerves and leaving me wide awake night after night. Exhaustion slowly etched itself onto my face. Every time I looked in the mirror, my pale and weary reflection startled me. I knew I had to uncover the truth behind those footsteps, otherwise, I'd surely lose my mind. One night, I finally summoned the courage to record the sounds with my phone, desperate to prove I wasn't trapped inside some bizarre hallucination. I switched off every light in the room, lay silently in bed holding my phone tightly, and waited for the footsteps to return. At exactly midnight, they began, clear, repetitive, mechanical, just as always. Quickly, I turned on the recording function and raised my phone high, afraid to miss even the slightest detail. The steps lasted nearly half an hour, and only when the sounds finally stopped did I stop recording. I immediately put on my headphones and played back the recording. But the moment I pressed play, a freezing chill raced up my spine like an electric shock, and I held my breath, every hair on my body standing on end. The recording hadn't just captured those familiar footsteps. In the brief pauses between each step, I heard something else, a low, eerie whisper, faint but perfectly clear, piercing into my ears like an icy blade.
He knows now.
I replayed it again and again, even raising the volume to the maximum. Every single time, the whisper sliced sharply into my mind, leaving no room for doubt. A sickening fear spread rapidly through my body, my stomach twisting in nausea. Suddenly, my room felt alien and cold. The cracks in the old ceiling paint twisted into distorted, mocking smiles, and the floorboards creaked almost imperceptibly beneath my weight, as if the entire room had come alive, watching me with countless hidden eyes. That whispered phrase from the recording echoed endlessly inside my head, making me feel like someone else was in the room, someone hiding in a dark corner, silently staring at me, always staring. Outside the window, darkness stretched endlessly, the wind rustling through branches like another form of whispering and sighing. That night, I didn't dare close my eyes. Instead, I lay awake until sunrise, the eerie whisper replaying relentlessly in my mind, weaving confusion, fear, and anxiety into an invisible net that trapped me completely. And I knew, deep down, that my life would never again return to the peaceful days I'd first imagined when I moved here. Ever since I heard that disturbing whisper, my life fell into chaos. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, that phrase echoed endlessly through my mind, "He knows now." It spread through my thoughts like an infection, slowly eating away at my sanity. It was another cold morning. Gray mist drifted outside my window as I sat on the edge of the bed, staring numbly down at my own trembling hands. Suddenly, from somewhere above me, I heard a faint scratching sound, followed by something gently drifting down from a small crack in the ceiling and landing softly on the floor. I glanced down. It was an old envelope, yellowed with age and curled at the edges. My pulse quickened as I picked it up, seeing my name scrawled across it in a handwriting I didn't recognize. Mark. My hands trembled uncontrollably as fear clawed its way up my spine. Glancing around the room, I felt invisible eyes watching me from every shadowed corner. Taking a deep breath, I carefully opened the envelope and withdrew a slip of paper. The handwriting was hurried and messy, as if written in desperation.
He knows now.
My blood froze instantly, a chill running from my feet straight to my scalp. Who was she? Who were they? And why was this person reaching out to me, of all people? I looked back up at the ceiling, the cracked, peeling paint hung like dead skin, the dark opening above gaping like a deep wound from which darkness slowly seeped out. That mysterious letter shattered any sense of normalcy I had left in my life. I couldn't handle such a secret alone. Overwhelmed by fear, I instinctively sought help, desperately sharing the story with others. First, I went to my landlord, whose response was surprisingly cold and dismissive, his face darkening as he sternly warned me not to let my imagination run wild. Then I approached some neighbors, who gave me strange, uncomfortable looks, as if I'd broken an unspoken taboo. But I didn't stop there. Driven by an obsessive need to uncover the truth about what happened to Sophia, I spoke to a local reporter, even tracking down the police officer who handled her disappearance years earlier. Each retelling felt as though it lifted some weight from my shoulders, easing my own terror slightly. Yet I failed to notice that every time I mentioned Sophia's name to someone, the footsteps above grew louder, more frantic, pacing furiously as if driven by growing agitation. Finally, an elderly neighbor revealed to me that the day before Sophia vanished, she'd gotten into a heated argument with the landlord. No one knew exactly why, but it made one thing clear: Sophia had never left. She was trapped, somewhere between the attic and my room, imprisoned within the space above my ceiling. After repeatedly revealing Sophia's secret, each night became colder, and the invisible footsteps became increasingly restless, pacing violently back and forth as if unable to suppress her growing rage. Then, late one night, I sat under the dim glow of a lamp, staring nervously at the cracked ceiling. A sudden, sharp scratching erupted from inside the ceiling above me, frantic, desperate, like fingernails clawing at wood. A horrifying realization surged through me. Perhaps I had made an irreversible mistake. I had revealed the one secret Sophia wanted desperately to remain hidden. It was a damp midnight. I sat in my darkened room, illuminated by nothing more than a small, dim desk lamp. I clenched the mysterious letter in my sweaty palms, anxiety soaking into every fiber of my body. The room was unsettlingly quiet. Strangely, the footsteps hadn't appeared tonight. The silence felt even more sinister, as if signaling the approach of something far worse. My heart began to race, my breath quickening, sweat trickling slowly down my forehead. Then suddenly, without warning, every light in the room blinked out simultaneously, plunging me into absolute darkness. Terrified, I jumped from my chair, gripping the edge of the desk tightly, my entire body tensed as I awaited the unknown horror that surely approached. At that moment, the air turned cold and clammy, heavy with moisture. I could hear every tiny sound around me, the faint creaking of the floorboards, an almost imperceptible sigh drifting from the corners. Even the rustling leaves outside the windows seemed transformed into countless whispers, drawing closer with every passing second. Then, right next to my ear, a voice spoke clearly, soft yet ice cold, as if someone were whispering just inches away.
You told them, didn't you?